In this video, I will be covering the grading criteria for the discussion board participation grade. Remember, your discussion boards are graded in two ways. First, they are graded by your initial post. Initial posts are worth 20% of your entire grade. They are also graded by your participation in responses, which is also worth 20% of your entire grade. One participation in response grade, it counts for a total of 100 points. The first line of this grading rubric is number of responses. Remember, you must post at least 5 responses in each discussion board forum. Now, that does not mean that you should be responding to 5 different students, necessarily. What I'm looking for is that you are posting at least 5 responses. Ideally, what I would like to see for this is that you get into a good conversation with 2 students, or maybe it's 1 student. I'm not necessarily looking at how many students, different classmates you respond to. But what I am looking for is that you guys get into a good conversation. So if you post 5 responses, that is a total of 20 points. If you only post 3 to 4 responses, you will only earn 10 points. 1 to 2 responses, 5 points, and if you do not respond to anyone, you will receive 0 for this assignment. The second line of the grading criteria is timeliness of the responses. What I'm looking for here is that you are an active participant in the discussion throughout the duration of the forum. So, generally speaking, you will have a certain amount of time period to get your initial post done, and then a certain amount of time period to do your responses. Depending on the length of your course, discussion board forums can be open from anywhere to 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on which course you're taking. The point is that as long as the discussion board is open, you should be actively in the discussion throughout the duration of the forum. So the way I want to explain this is from 0 on up. So the first thing is that if you post all of your responses within the final 24 hours that the discussion was open, you'll receive 0 points on this line. So this line here is worth 20 points. And so if, let's say that a discussion board is due on August 19th. If on August 19th, you go in and post all 5 of your responses, you will not earn any points on this line. The point is for this is because, as I stated, the point of this assignment is to engage in a discussion. If you post all of your responses in the final 24 hours that a discussion board forum is open, it is unlikely that any of your classmates are going to go read and respond to you. At that point in that final 24 hours, you should be kind of taking a break and getting ready for the next module. Even if you have students respond to you in those last 24 hours, it is even more highly unlikely that you will actually go in and post response back to their responses. In other words, by posting all your responses in the last 24 hours, you're really not engaging in a discussion. Another benchmark that I'm also looking at is were all responses posted on the same day. So maybe it's not the final 24 hours. But let's say you go in and post all of your responses in a single day. What that is telling me is that you had not been an active participant throughout the duration of the forum. So you will lose points here as well. So even if it's not the final 24 hours, but if you post everything on the same day and never come back and revisit and respond, then you will most likely only earn about 5 points for this line here. Now, just a rule of thumb with this. I understand that everyone is has they're taking multiple classes, and you have family and jobs. I'm not looking that you go in every single day and post a response. What I am definitely looking at for here is that you're at least participating in the discussion on 2 different days other than your initial post. In other words, at least 2 different days come back in and respond and post responses to meet that 5. The next line here is information and responses. What I'm looking at here is that you're offering new information to the discussion that is relevant to the topic, that you're initiating dialogue, that you're acknowledging statements of others, and you're expanding the conversation. What I'm not looking for is critiques. So simply saying good job or I agree, and then maybe restating something that you agreed from your classmate, that is not providing new information in the discussion. I encourage you all to ask questions, engage in debate. And of course, if your classmate maybe made a mistake in some of the content or maybe interpreted the information incorrectly, very politely, and you can do that in the discussion boards, try to gear them on the right track. If you're getting into a debate, I certainly welcome that. Those are always fun in the discussions. Just be respectful and definitely use resources to back up your points. So again, biggest thing here is it's okay to agree or disagree, but what I'm looking for you to do is expand the conversation. The next line is factual information. So even if you're expanding the conversation, well, let's say you're only just providing opinionated statements that really you're not substantiating it from anywhere else. That is not necessarily factual information. I don't mind that you provide your opinion. That's really what the responses discussion is about. Definitely provide your opinion. But remember, this is an academic discussion, and you should definitely be using some sources and back up those opinions with facts, case studies, and examples. I do have quotes on here because I do not necessarily want you to litter the responses with a bunch of quotes. So definitely use those very sparingly. The last graded line here is clarity, mechanics, and grammar. As with your initial post, I am not going through this with a fine-tooth comb. But remember, you're having a discussion. If students and myself cannot fully understand your points because there is a reduction in clarity due to grammatical errors, spelling errors, and those types of things, it makes it very difficult to have those conversations. So what I recommend doing is when you are posting your responses, I would type these out on a Word document so that you can get the spell check. As with your initial post, I do have a zero-sum line here that's plagiarism. So if you are plagiarizing your responses, you will receive a 0 on this assignment. Now, down here at the bottom, I do have some embedded extra credit opportunities for each participation. The first one is that you actually provide in-text citations and a reference list. So I do not make it a requirement that you cite and reference your responses. Even though I say I want you to use factual information by using reliable resources, you can just kind of give me an idea of where you got those from, and these things are usually pretty easy to stand out, and I can see that you're actually using real-life examples as opposed to just your opinion. But if you provide in-text citations and a reference to illustrate those resources you're using, you can earn 5 extra credit points on the assignment. Additionally, I award extra credit for extra engagement. Now this one, there are no fine lines in how this is defined. So you have to post a minimum of 5 responses. I usually award extra credit from anything where you might just post those 5 responses, but they are really, really detailed responses. You provide really, really good detailed data, and they're not just 2 or 3 sentences that you know, just to meet that minimum. So if they're really good responses, you might earn some extra credit here. Additionally, you might earn some extra credit here by going above the 5. So let's say if you post 10 responses, you could possibly earn some extra credit. Now, just posting 10 responses of saying, I agree, great job, will not earn you extra credit. Those responses should meet the criteria of the rest of the rubric. In other words, just be engaged in the discussion, and don't be surprised if you are, and you go in to see your grade, that you're receiving over 100 on this assignment. Between the discussion boards and the ticket out the door extra credit, it is not often, or excuse me, it is very often that I have students who get to the end of the course and they have received over 100% for the entire course due to the in-text citations and engagement extra credit for the discussion boards. So in this video, we covered the grading criteria for the discussion board participation for the discussion board assignments.